There's one of my YouTube channels, it's at 23k subscribers and I monetized it in 2 years. Then the next YouTube channel, it's at 6k and I monetized it in under 6 months. And here's like some revenue that I made from this channel alone. Then I'm an editor for this 21k sub guy. Then I grew this channel that you're watching on right now to 1k subscribers in under 3 months. Then I made one thumbnail for this guy and now it's his most popular video with 300,000 views. Then I'm the owner of a 400 member YouTuber community, and the course that you're about to watch right now was part of my paid community with 23 members. And this community is actually free now. So this course is only available on YouTube right now, but in this community, which is free to join, you'll also find a 7-day YouTube challenge that will set you up for success on YouTube. So join this community after watching this video, or join already and then continue watching this video afterwards. And also, I recently started out on TikTok. My 5th upload got 71k views, and then, yeah, there's some more, 260k views. I hope this is enough credentials for you to listen to me. If it's not, then honestly, I don't know, you're gonna miss out on a ton of stuff. But let's just get started with the course. Grab a pen and paper, sit back, relax. And I'll be honest, it took me about maybe 10 minutes to really get into the groove, so at the beginning I'm stuttering quite a bit. Yeah, you'll just have to deal with that. And also feel free to watch this video in 1.5 times speed if you want to, because if you listen closely and don't have anything other open, no other tabs, no other games on your phone, whatever, then you can consume all of this information even at 1.5 times speed. And then there's 3 tools that are linked in the description and probably even more in the description. And those are going to be the 1 of 10 extension, the vidIQ extension, and the Creator ML extension. Now the vidIQ extension is important for having this outlier tool that basically shows you which of these videos that are being shown to you are performing better than the usual videos on their channel. And you have the Creator ML thing. You can see thumbnail changes. Hold on, let's look at this example instead. If we pop this open, statistics, this transcript and summary, you don't really need this. But here you can actually see the thumbnail changes that this video went through, and you can also see the view curve. So this change was very important because afterwards the video started exploding. And then there's also the 1 of 10 extension, which is this one right here. You can put in any thumbnail. There's like one that I made for a client. We could, for example, put in this one and then, you know, put in your title. This one's, in my opinion, way too long. Click on preview. And it's going to be here, and you can see that the title at least doesn't cut off, so yeah, there it's fine. And again, there's going to be more in the description. In this course, I'm giving you the horsepower, but you still have to use it. This information is not going to do anything for you if you're not going to implement it. So that being said, let's get started with wheel 1, the strategy. Now imagine your YouTube channel is a car. Cars have 4 wheels, and in terms of YouTube, these wheels consist of strategy, packaging, script writing, and editing. And we'll go through all of these wheels in this course. And that's why there's going to be a lot of car analogies. So let's start with perspective. Either you improve your videos or you die. If you're not improving, then you're not growing. And basically what you need to do is improve by 1% every single video. Or not even 1%, just like improve anything in every single video. So this means your title, your thumbnail, your scripting, what else is there? Your ideation, your editing. Just improve one thing every single time. And what ends up happening is you're gonna like not grow so much, but with 1%, 1%, 1%, you're gonna have bigger and bigger jumps over time. I don't know how this is called, but there's like a term for this, but it doesn't really matter. But this is basically the perspective you need to have. It's not, oh, I'm not getting views, and why am I not getting any views? It's, I just need to improve. Views don't even matter. So we're also not searching for the quick views, uploading shorts and all of that stuff. Okay, so shorts can be good if you have a proper strategy, but if you're just uploading them for the view's sake, then you should probably stop and maybe even make a new channel, honestly. Because, well, getting quick views doesn't really help at all. Say to me, MLG, God, my English was so great back then. This was my first channel, or second, I don't even know. I uploaded 107 videos and got 120 subscribers, which is... I don't know, it's not too great, But I was literally just like chasing quick views, and I didn't care about the viewer, which is literally the #1 priority that you need to have. As soon as I implemented this, I grew so much faster. Like on my Minecraft channels where I then did that, it helped out a lot. And even on this channel, you wouldn't be here right now if I didn't if in the Discord server and in my videos, I didn't actually show that I care about you making progress, you wouldn't have joined this community. So that's that. Let's get on to the niche. Don't post whatever you want. At first it's gonna look cool, but you're gonna lose control and then this is gonna happen. I love this GIF so much because it illustrates the point so well. Don't post whatever you want, because your audience is gonna be completely messed up and YouTube doesn't know where to recommend your video to, and your channel's just gonna be all over the place, honestly. You need to find a niche, and to do that, you can use the YouTube Ikigai, which is, you write down things that you like, you write down things that you're good at, you write down things that are monetizable, and then you write down things that are sustainable, that you can sustain. And basically the middle part of this, like something that you like, you're good at, is monetizable and sustainable, this is what you need to make videos about. So for example, if we look at a bad niche, it would be, for example, making Minecraft videos for Indians, because the RPM is gonna be horrible. You can't sell anything, and RPM is horrible. I'm talking from experience. That was on my last Minecraft channel. I love the guys, they were really nice, but from a money perspective, it was definitely not good. So this circle was missing. Sustainability was also missing, actually, because I didn't want to make Minecraft videos for the rest of my life, but yeah. Next niche, AI automation. And yes, swearing is necessary here. You don't want to be a clone. Look at this picture. Hold on, let me clear this up again. Which of these guys, are you gonna watch? If this is your home screen, where are you gonna decide to click on? Nowhere! You don't care, they all look the same, it's boring. AI automation and basically anything that is soulless that you do for money doesn't work. It's not sustainable and you're not gonna like it. Point being, for AI automation and basically anything soulless that you just do for money, so for example documentary channels as well. If you really love sports and you make a documentary channel about sports, then that can be fine, but just making them because they're the next best thing and, shiny object syndrome, it doesn't make sense. So you should really pay attention to having all of these 4 things. Then, let's get on to good niches, which is going to be self-improvement, for example, if you matter or if you will matter. So there are self-improvement guys who are uploading day in the life of a 13-year-old becoming a millionaire or something. But there's, again, thousands of people doing this. They're all clones. You need to be different if you want to be in the self-improvement niche. Generally, it is a good niche because it's also monetizable, but if you're 13 or something, then you're not going to be able to sell a product. I hate to break it to you, you have to be exceptional to be able to do that. There's this one guy called BG Calisthenics on Instagram. He's 14. He's really good at calisthenics and he can sell a program, but that's also because he already matters. Another good niche, documentaries, but only things that you actually care about. And thirdly, comedy stuff, especially if you have a British accent. I don't know why, but being British is a requirement for having good comedy sometimes. Tommy Innit, Amos is also in this community. Comedy can be a good thing, but you kind of need to be not talented because you can learn anything, but if you are talented, then obviously that's going to help you out. Oversaturation, my ass. Niches are oversaturated sometimes, sure, but it doesn't really matter. You need to just, 1, don't be a clone. If you're any of these guys, you're not gonna stand out. This one is somewhat visible, but even then he's not very important, right? Second step, don't be a clone. Make your own stuff, please. And thirdly, you need to work hard. If you're in any niche that is considered oversaturated or anything like that, then you just need to work hard. And fourthly, last long on YouTube. If you're simply making content longer in your niche and everyone with shiny object syndrome is already going to the next topic that is better, so first it's AI automation and then it's documentary channels. If you're still in AI automation while everyone else is not doing it anymore, then it can actually work. Right now, as I'm recording this, AI automation is the big thing, so it doesn't work. But if you last long in a niche and you're becoming an authority in that niche, then it actually can work. An example for oversaturation not mattering is my channel. YouTube Education is one of the most oversaturated, if not the most oversaturated niche in terms of demand and supply. By the way, that's also what oversaturation means. If this is the supply and this is the demand, then the niche is oversaturated. There's more supply than demand, or too much supply for the demand, basically. And that's basically what's the case in YouTube Education. However, I don't care, because I've seen quite a few things that other channels are doing wrong. Best example is always vidIQ. I really like to insult them. They're a corporation who have been making videos for years, and they're regurgitating the same content over and over again. And I just feel like there's an opportunity to not be a clone, you know? If I copied vidIQ, I'm not going to be able to compete against them. But if I'm the exact opposite of vidIQ, meaning not very corporate and like personal and all that stuff, then I can, where's the thing? Here. Then I can make it on the niche. Wheel 2, packaging of the video. This is honestly so important. Is it more important than the first one? I don't know. You need all 4 wheels, honestly. Cars don't work with 3 wheels, usually. So, steal some ideas. This is honestly so good. Oh, by the way, yeah, about packaging. In packaging, we have ideation, we have titles and thumbnails. So we're gonna start out with the ideation because this is very important. Get a Miro board and steal video ideas. Let me show you how it's done. All right, so you go to Miro.com and then you just make a board. It's free, and then you go onto YouTube with your vidIQ extension installed, and then you can see, oh, this video has 13 times the views that the channel usually has. How big's the channel? Well, that doesn't make any sense. Let's find a different example. This guy, celebrating my 2000-day Duolingo streak by deleting the app. And the video performed really well. His channel is probably going to be like pretty small. Yeah, 1K subscribers and 7K views. That's a good video, and title and thumbnail. We're screenshotting that and putting that into the Miro board. And you can see I've done this quite a lot. And basically, when you need a new thumbnail idea or a title idea or a video idea just in general, you will go to your Miro board and you will have so many things that you pasted in here, which are all different videos that you can apply to your own niche. Now, the problem is, here, if I go to my subscriptions and just, let me just go here. If I, for example, copy this video, this AI tool, oh my gosh, AI, I hate it. This AI tool creates short videos for you. If I copied this, then I would be a clone because this already exists in my niche. But if I made a video about, where is the thing here? Celebrating my 2000th video on YouTube by deleting my channel. That's something that no one's done in my niche, and therefore it's kind of original, even though I stole the idea from this guy. And that's basically just what you need to do. Oh, by the way, if you have the 1 of 10 extension, this thumbnail can sometimes stay there, so you just need to reload and then it should be gone. Yeah, there we go. So that's basically what you do. You just scroll through this. I love this clip. Do your push-ups with just a very simple thumbnail. You could screenshot all of these things and put them into your Miro board, and this is going to help you a lot in the long run. There is a second way to get ideas, which is using the ideation machine, and that video is going to be in the next chapter. For this one, I wanted to just send you to this old video that I made, but honestly it's not that good, he's completely right. So we'll go over the ideation machine right now, and I also made it look a bit nicer. So what is the ideation machine? With this, you can get like literally hundreds of different ideas within minutes. And I'm not exaggerating. Like on this thumbnail, I said 31 ideas in 3 minutes, and I showed this live. So what you're gonna do is you draw circles, or you don't actually need to draw this. This is just an easy way of representing it. So in the middle is gonna be your niche. And then outside of it, there's gonna be like 3, 4, 5 different subcategories of your niche. So for example, I'm in YouTube education, which is about editing, it's about script writing, it's about packaging, and it's about strategy. And for each of these subcategories, there's 6 or 7 different things that we can talk about. So this is only 4, but you know, just imagine it's even like double the amount of topics again. So for editing, there's a quick tip I can talk about. There's an industry myth I can talk about. There's common mistakes I can share. There's personal stories I can share. I can share someone else's stories. I can answer common questions. And I can show step-by-step systems. So for each of these categories, there's multiple videos per this category. So, okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 times 7, that's 28. And then let's say for each of those, we have 3 ideas, 28 times 3. And this is basically for the education niche. So you can replace YouTube with anything else as long as it's like showing how-tos and educating your viewer on how to do something. But for entertainment, in Minecraft, you, for example, have parkour, you can have player versus player game modes, you can do building, you can do mini games, you can play survival, there's too many things. But for each of these, you can have a challenge, you can have a speed run, you can just talk over something, You can host events with viewers, for example, or with other YouTubers. You can make parodies about stuff. You can react to some already existing content, or you can review something. And that also works for every single category. And there's probably even more to this list. If you can think of any, then post them in the community tab. But these two are literally just a super easy way to come up with new ideas that can work really well. But obviously these ideas need to be good. So now let's go through the idea checklist. Now that we have an idea, let's go through the idea checklist. First of all, is your video idea relevant? Meaning, would anyone even care about it? Is it unique? Is it not copied from your own niche? Is it even possible to make? For example, an amazing video idea would be, I invested $10,000 to start a channel from scratch. By the way, this wouldn't be the title. And using this $10,000, I hire a team and see where the channel goes. That would be a great video idea, but it's not possible for me. So this box is very important to check off. Shareability. If your video is not shareable, you're just gonna get less views. I mean, it's not necessarily a requirement, but honestly, it should be. Like, your video should be, one, entertaining enough if it's an entertainment video, or it should be educating enough for people to share it with their friends who are learning about the same stuff. Which basically means that it, yeah, this is basically the same thing. You need to provide a ton of value. There are a few bonus things that you can check off. For example, longevity, meaning evergreen content. I don't know if you've heard that term before. It basically means that if you upload a video now, then like 10 years in the future, it's still gonna get views. If you get a video like this, that would be great. For example, how to clear cache in Google Chrome. That video you could have made 5 years ago and it would still be the same today and people would still search for it. Searchability. Making videos for the search algorithm can be literally a huge hack because you can get insane CTRs, insane views, and if you find a good topic that isn't like saturated already, then this can honestly be huge for your channel. Scalability, meaning you can make a series out of it or you can make follow-up videos. For example, my video, YouTube just got easier on YouTube. What? For example, my video, YouTube just got easier for everyone, was a really good video, but it was really hard to follow up on. If a video of yours goes viral or like pops off, whatever, and you can't make a follow-up video on it, then it's kind of bad because you can't profit from the success that it had as much as you could otherwise. And then trendy or fame hacking. For example, when Squid Game was trending, Mr. Beast made a video about Squid Game. That was trend hacking. A lot of YouTubers are currently making videos about Sam Sulek, who is famous. So you can make videos about famous people. That would be called fame hacking. If this is also ticked off, then that, you know, it would be beneficial too. But again, it's not required. These are just bonuses. Let's get on to titles. First of all, your titles need to be less than 50 characters. I already showed you the 1 of 10 extension. Using this, you can see how long your title is. You should really keep it as short as possible while we'll get to that now. While causing a curiosity gap. A curiosity gap is basically that your viewer is going to look like this guy. They want to know what's going on and they're going to click on your video. Another way to do that, I mean, I guess curiosity is an emotion, but getting them emotional otherwise also works. So for example, if I uploaded a video called AI automation sucks, and you really love AI automation, which hopefully you don't, you would then get emotional about me insulting that thing and then maybe click on the video to hate or whatever, or just see what it's about. If possible, your title should also include some keywords, especially if you're making search-based content. Otherwise, it doesn't matter too much, but still, if I have, for example, if I have the term YouTube in my titles, then YouTubers are gonna care more because that keyword is included. It's not only for the algorithm, but it also is for the algorithm. And lastly, practice. Actually, no, not lastly, but you need to practice your titles. The more you make, the more you write, the more you see what works and what doesn't, the better you're gonna get. And honestly, there is no shortcut to getting insanely good at titles except for, copying them. It is a valid thing that you can do from outside your niche, obviously. Yeah, practice your titles and then get feedback from the YouTube Fastlane community. I mean, we have a community tab for a reason. This goes for basically everything. So it also goes for thumbnails and ideas itself and editing. Just get some feedback from the community. I mean, how many views you get is always a good indicator for how good a video was. But in our community, you're gonna get feedback on what exactly you can improve and what was the bad thing, if there was anything wrong with your video at all. Thumbnails are extremely important. I think you know that already. There's gonna be 3 chapters to this topic. First of all, there's gonna be the free thumbnail course, this one right here. Then there's going to be analyzing a perfect thumbnail, which is this thumbnail here. And then we're going to make a thumbnail together. These are all videos that I already made. Is this you? Trapped in a hamster wheel, trying to make a good thumbnail, but you can't seem to figure it out? Let me break you out with this free thumbnail guide for beginners and intermediates. We'll go over which software to use and how to use the most important tools, masking, effects, filters, overlays, the ATC thumbnail principle, how to use text correctly, because most people actually make their thumbnails worse. I'll also show you the 21 different thumbnail types that you can copy. And after that, we'll create a thumbnail together step by step. Real quick, I just want to mention that I made a free asset pack with over 50 backgrounds, overlays, textures, arrows, and text presets. It's in the description for you to download, and I think it can help you out a lot. There will be timestamps for every chapter, so feel free to skip around. However, there are always some methods that are faster or better, so you might learn something new, even if you already know a tool. But let's get started. As you can see, we got a lot on our list today. As for software, you should use Photopea or Photoshop. Photoshop costs a bit. Photopea is completely for free and it works in any browser. Also looks exactly the same as Photoshop, so if we just compare the tools, like all of these tools are also over here, so you can basically follow along anything in this video with Photopea. So let's first get familiar with the tools. By the way, any keys that I press will be on the screen right here, so I don't have to say the shortcuts for them every single time. First of all, we got the brush tool. With it, you can draw. And over here, you can also switch it to the pencil tool. If you Alt and right click, you can drag to adjust the size of the brush that you want. And obviously there's colors up there, so you can do whatever you want with that. So once you do anything, you can press V to select it. You can Control C, copy it, Control V, paste it, Control T. Why is it not showing anymore? That's annoying. Control T to transform, and you can then scale it up and down. If you wanted to change the aspect ratio, you can press Control to move it however you want, or you can also press Shift to only change these X and Y axes, whatever one you drag around. If you press E, there's the eraser. Oh, now it's showing again. And with it, you can erase stuff. Now, there are many tools to select different things. So if we start out with the lasso tool, you can draw around this and then drag it around. You can also use the marquee tool, which basically can draw a rectangle, it can draw a circle, rows. Then there's the magic wand tool, which basically selects anything of a color. So this black part is now selected. We can press Shift and click on another one to also select this one and also this one. So then we could also cut it out. Here's also the quick selection tools. So if we draw over this, it's gonna select this part pretty accurately. You can then also make this smaller again and add some stuff. So that way we can cut the palm tree out if we wanted to. Now the object selection tool, we'll just click on this. This one takes a while, so I usually don't use it. There we go. If we now hover over things, we can, for example, select Sonic over here. And then we can cut him out. So it works really well, but it takes a while. Then there's also the Select Subject button, which I don't know if it works on Sonic. Yeah, no, it didn't. And the Remove Background, which also usually only works on people. We can use the Remove Background on this one, for example. It should be pretty perfect, yeah. Alright, so if we wanted to get rid of this rock thing, we can press J. Make it a bit bigger and just draw over this and it's going to be gone. That's called the Spot Healing Brush tool. And there's a few other ones like the Remove tool. For example, we could remove this palm tree. So there we go, and it's gone. And then I guess do a bit of cleanup here. The Healing Brush tool is also quite interesting. You can Alt click on something and then you can basically draw from that part that you sampled. There's a Blur tool. Let's blur out the palm tree that I added again. It should be pretty visible. Then there's a Sharpen tool. Let's just sharpen Sonic. If you do it too much, then this is going to start happening. By the way, this is how most of these memes are made. You just over sharpen something. Then with G, there's the Fill Bucket tool, which basically like fills in the color that you click on. Then there's also the Gradient tool over here, which there are a lot of like presets. We can, for example, use, I don't know, this color. If we click on OK, and now just drag somewhere to somewhere, we're going to have this. There's different modes, and depending on how much you draw this around, like the bigger it's going to be. If you press U, you're going to get like a rectangle tool. So you can change the filter whatever you want. Sure, let's just do this. You can add a stroke, you can remove the stroke if you want to, you can have different lines for the stroke, all that kind of stuff. If you drag around this thing, then you're going to change how like sharp the edges are. And obviously you can also draw circles and all that other stuff. I try to go this as fast as possible while still it being like somewhat understandable. You'll get used to the tools over time. This might seem a bit confusing if you just picked up Photopea or Photoshop, but you'll probably have most of the stuff down by the end of this video. For example, you could just try to replicate this real quick and then you already have some practice in. Oh, by the way, there's the text tool, but we'll talk about text later because it's very important and there's other things that I need to mention first for the text to actually make sense. So let's talk a bit about masking. This is already a mask. If you see this like black and white thing over here, if we remove this, then the background is going to be back. And if we click on this thing, this is a mask, and then draw with black on something, then it's going to remove that from the mask. But let's remove the mask again and select this with the magic wand tool. So we'll increase the tolerance by a bit, so around 20. There we go. We can see that some things are selected. We can then invert the selection and press this tool to also have the mask effect. In this case, we really could have just clicked on remove background, but I want to show you like different options on how to do things because sometimes you will need them. Now, if I scale this down by a lot and then I scale it up by a lot again, it's going to be really blurry. And if we want to avoid that, we can right click this and convert it to a smart object. Basically, this means that we can move it around as much as we want and it's going to stay the same quality because the image is basically saved in another file, if I can explain it like that. This also gets us to the next part, which is filters. If we use, for example, the liquify tool on this, we can make his eyes bigger, for example, and mouth smaller, just because. If we click on OK for this one, it's going to be added as a smart filter, so we can just toggle this on and off. If I didn't convert this to a smart object, then this would have been a so-called destructive edit, meaning I can't undo this later on. We can actually just try that on this one, for example. I'm not going to make this a smart object. We'll just scale it down anyway. Filter liquify. So we'll make his eyes bigger by just clicking and his mouth smaller again. And now we can't toggle this on or off. So if we do any other change, for example, we move it around, to now undo the liquifying, we'll have to undo 2 steps. So that's why you should always use smart filters. Let's try to actually make somewhat of a thumbnail out of this. We'll just keep this smart filter on because it's funny. So what I'm going to do is add a camera raw filter onto this, and we'll change some colors in Mr. Beast's face. Because on thumbnails, everything is a bit more bright and contrasty. You probably have noticed that already. So we can turn up the exposure to make him brighter. We can turn up the contrast to distinguish more between his face and his dark hoodie. Highlights is basically like increasing or decreasing the white parts. Shadows, yeah, it's the shadows. Whites, blacks is a similar thing, but usually you just test around and see what happens. The temperature is basically how yellow or how blue something is. If we select with this white balance tool, if we select a white part, then it's automatically going to adjust this. So it said that temperature needs to go up by 1 and tint up by 4, but obviously we can also change it by hand. Vibrance is always something I just put on there. Saturation, sometimes it might mess up like skin color, as you can see right there. That's some Willy Wonka shit. Texture is really just texture. You can make it a bit blurry and you can over texture it. Usually I turn it up by a bit. Let me not go through every single other option for now, but you can just test around with it and have some fun. So for now, let's click on OK. And we can see that from this color to this color, it's already a big difference. We can also still toggle this camera raw filter on and off. What happened to his nose? I actually can't explain what just happened with that. No idea. Alright, but let's move him over here. Now we can add a drop shadow with this effects thing down in the bottom. Blending options, drop shadow. Let's not make the size that big, but something like this maybe. Let's add some spread to make it even darker. You can adjust color, all that. Let's just click on OK for now. And he's a bit more distinguished from the background. Let's make this a smart object and scale it up. And let's also invert the width by just typing a minus over here. And then we have Mr. Beast and Sonic in one picture. Just remove the sunflower. For that, we have to rasterize the smart object, which basically means it gets destructed a little bit. Wait, no, we don't. We don't need to. Because we can add a new layer on top of this one and then use the spot healing brush tool and click on sample all layers. So we can actually still use this. I actually learned this yesterday. Wow, that didn't work. And that way we don't have to remove the smart object. And there we go. Let's just use a few other filters that might come in handy for you. So we'll just select basically everything of this blue part behind him. So if we have this selected, we can go to filter, blur, and then Gaussian blur. That way we can blur the background. This is honestly a very bad example. Let's just select the grass over here, use it on this one. There we go. But what we also might want to do is select the Sonic. Again, this is only a quick example. And then select the background, go to blur and go to motion blur. We can then adjust the angle and make it look like Sonic is running really fast down the hill. Obviously, we should probably delete this part from the Sonic layer. Something like that. A few other effects, we can add noise. It just makes everything look a bit more grainy. Sometimes it's really good to have some texture in there, and that's how you can add it. If down here we click on, for example, vibrance, we can drag it above Mr. Beast, and if we now adjust it, everything in the picture is gonna get more vibrant or less vibrant, depending on how we do it. Now, if we only want to apply this to Mr. Beast, we press Alt and then click on his layer. So now the background is not affected by this. But what I really wanted to do is make Sonic stand out more, so we'll put it on the Sonic layer and increase the vibrance a bit. You can also put exposure on here, also bind it again, change that up how you want to. One of my favorite things to do is changing colors. So if we add a hue and saturation, bind it to Mr. Beast, and then use this tool over here to select the color of his hoodie, we can then increase and decrease the saturation. But let's get a more clearer example of this. So let's bind hue and saturation to the bottom layer, select green, and then change that to red or yellow. That's pretty much it for filters. There are a lot more, and there are a lot more down here, but this is still supposed to be a beginner tutorial, so we'll keep it at this for now. Now let's make it look like Sonic is running in a thunderbolt. We can do that with overlays. Thunderbolt overlay. We can just do that and choose any of these with a black background. So we can copy this, paste that in there, and then we change the blending mode to screen. That way everything that is black is gonna get removed. We can adjust it a bit like that, and there you go. It looks like he's struck by lightning. Let's also add some particles overlay, basically just to show you that this is possible. I'll show you a really good example of how you can use particles in a second. There we go, we have some particles on here, amazing. Because in the thumbnail for this thumbnail guide, I used a lot of particles. I mean, we can scroll through the layers a bit, and you can see that there's quite a few effects on there. So for example, I use these particles and these ones, and I'll show you how to do that. So we'll copy this over, and initially when you find something like this on the internet, it's gonna look like this. The first step is to select it and put it on screen mode because it's a black background. Second step is to click on this mask layer mask, sorry. And the third step is to press Alt and Delete to fill it all with black. Or we can also do Ctrl I to invert, or we can use the bucket filter to fill it black. Either way, you can now choose a brush, put the color on white, and make sure you have this selected, not this one. And then you can take your brush and draw in particles over here. You can kind of see them. That's how that works. Wow, we already did a lot, but there's a lot more to be done. Thumbnail principles. The thumbnail principle that we'll be working with is called ATC, and we'll go over each one. A stands for attention. When you upload a video with a thumbnail, it's gonna show up on the home screen. Now there are a lot of videos with a lot of thumbnails. So the first thing you need to make sure is that your thumbnail catches someone's attention. This one, for example, is very vibrant. This one over here is also very vibrant and very saturated. This one stands out because it looks more like a casual situation. And if we scroll down, this is just a guy looking into a camera. And if we scroll down even further, let's see what we have. We have contrast between this beige and red tone. We have huge text, and we have an unexpected image because who would expect a green bathroom? That's all for getting the viewer to stop their scrolling and just even have a look at your thumbnail. Now T stands for trust. This guy, for example, Ryan Horgan Unfiltered, no one knows him, but he's using Hamza on his thumbnail to get trust, because Hamza is a well-known YouTuber and many people associate good content with Hamza. That way, if he uses him on his thumbnail, it's gonna work really well. Over here we have Kanye, also a well-known person. So you can use bigger creators, for example, or you could even use, for example, this kind of thing. When you see this thumbnail, you're also gonna feel some trust because he's previewing a story formula with 3 different steps. So you know that he thought about this concept and he has 3 different steps, and you trust that these steps are probably gonna be good. Another way is just branding. Colin and Samir's podcast is literally a perfect example because they always use this yellow square and a dark background and one person on the side. And if you see these thumbnails, you're gonna think, oh, Colin and Samir, I like their previous videos, so I'm gonna click on this one again. C, probably the most important one out of all of them. Actually, no, I can't say that, but Very important. Doesn't work without it. Curiosity. How do we define this? The full story of MrBeast. Almost 2 hours. MrBeast is one of the largest creators on the platform. So by definition, you're probably going to be curious how his life is like if you watch any of his previous videos. We interviewed a YouTube employee about why videos go viral. As a creator, you're going to be curious why videos go viral and what you can learn from them. This is a Minecraft city with a huge picture. You're going to think, how is that a Minecraft city? That looks like a hill. That would be a huge city. Over here, confidence is uncomfortable. Why would confidence be uncomfortable? It's counterintuitive, so it makes you curious. In the description, you're going to find a link to a thumbnail cheat sheet that further explains some different examples of attention, trust, and curiosity. Now, 3 different rules that I just kind of have to state. First of all, you're going to use at maximum 3 elements. This one, for example, text, ball, line, right side, left side text, person text. I don't speak the language, so I can't be sure, but I would assume that this is too much. Too much text, too many different things. This is too much. There we go. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different elements. No one's gonna look at that fast. Putting a new in here and these different YouTube logos and then another thing down here with another grow text, that really just doesn't make sense. Don't restate the title. Let's get an example from my Miro board, where I basically have some thumbnail inspiration over here. How to get ahead of 99% of people in 6 to 12 months. If you wrote the same thing on the thumbnail, it wouldn't have helped anything at all. You already have the title and people are going to read the title. So the thumbnail needs to complement the title. Danko in this case said, create an anti-vision on his thumbnail. This kind of answers how to get ahead of 99% of people, but it opens up a new loop, a new so-called curiosity gap that people now want to know what's an anti-vision and how can it help me. Packaging should fit content. This one's pretty obvious. If I say I survived 7 days in an abandoned city, I can't just be quitting at day 1. If I say face your biggest fear to win $800,000, I can't just give away $80,000. If someone clicks on your video and they get disappointed, that's the worst thing that can happen. 21 thumbnail types. This is from the video top 21 thumbnail formats to grow on YouTube fast. So credit to this guy. We'll actually have to speedrun this. You can use a shocking thumbnail. You can use large numbers on your thumbnail. You can add a reaction because humans are actually like a very good thing to put on thumbnails, simply because it makes things more relatable and people know what to expect in the video. Quotes. This one is a bad example, I can't lie. Colin and Samir. If this flops, I'm done. That's a perfect quote to put on a thumbnail. Questions. But what happens to me? Putting the opposite of what someone thinks on the thumbnail. Can you fix climate change? No. People would expect kurz gesagt to say, yes, you can. But they just say no. With a star because they talk about how we together can probably fix it, but anyway. Discord and chat messages. This is really interesting. Beluga popped up with this format, and it's just a way to make funny thumbnails, and people might click on them. Branded, we talked about that. Social hacking, putting a celebrity or a well-known person, we talked about that as well. Saturation is really good for attention grabbing. Headers, and this kind of thing to show how extreme something is. We have weird objects, or in general weird pictures, we talked about that. Ambiguity, basically people want to know how this MrBeast play button looks like by it being pixeled out. Showing a transformation, there's a lot of these dopamine detox before and after. If we just scroll down a few here, before, after, 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 before, after. It works really well. Comparison, I guess that's also before, after. You can do time lapses, bring alongs, you can sometimes do cutouts. Don't do this for now because only bigger creators can get away with it. And then single photos. We actually saw quite a few when we scrolled through YouTube a minute earlier. Here, single photo, single photo. I guess this is a header, single photo. Okay, now text. This is one of the most important things there is to thumbnail creation. It's, by the way, also why I think this thumbnail even turned out well in the first place. If I remove the text, it's gonna be very empty. And this glow on the text makes it so much better. So I'll show you how to make good text. First of all, press T on your keyboard and just click anywhere and just type anything. Then pick a font. There are a lot of fonts on here. Personally, I like using Gotham. I downloaded that from the web. Eras, Bold, ITC, and Cubano. Those are my main fonts. I do recommend you to go onto defont.com and then finding a new font that you don't see many people use. That way you can really stand out. For example, using this Demon Panic thing. I actually downloaded this a while ago. Demon Panic. Using something like that, you're gonna be so unique. We just, I don't know, type scary and scale that up. Okay, Okay, the font isn't as good as it looks on here. Anyway, let's go with Gotham. Let's just say Mr. Beast did a money giveaway for the best Sonic player, something like that. And we'll put the $1,000 text on here. First of all, obviously you should change the color. And then there are a lot of effects we can put on this. If you go to blending options, you're gonna have bevel and emboss, which adds this 3D effect. Usually I wouldn't recommend adding it, but it is an option. What you probably always want to do, especially as a beginner, is just add some drop shadow on it. It will help out so much because it's very important that the text doesn't blend in with the background. Put this on a blue tone and then remove the effect. No one's going to be able to read that from afar. You can also use Canva complementary colors. They have a really good website here. If you now put in this blue tone, I'm just going to guess it. You can also copy over the code. We can see that this color is the opposite of it. So if we put that in here and then adjust it a bit, yep, this is really good for contrast. Let's double click on effects again and add a gradient overlay instead. So we will go to oranges, for example. Since it's still somewhat close to yellows, we can just test out different things. That might look good. Or we go over to green because this is a money thumbnail. So it really just makes sense. And as always, I would really just recommend you to play around with the different settings and see what you can do. If we double click on this, we can change the colors. So for example, we can make it darker if we wanted to and make it brighter over here. We can adjust this thing, or we could also add something in between, but let's not do that now. What I also like to do is sometimes adding a white drop shadow with a dark one on top. This can work really well, but sometimes it doesn't. But let's try to get this one to glow. So we'll increase the opacity of this one, decrease the size, and then we'll actually duplicate the text, Alt drag above. Here I'm gonna remove the drop shadow and turn this into a rasterized layer. And now on this we can actually add a Gaussian blur, something like that, and we can decrease the opacity a bit, and now we have the text a lot more glowy. Let's add another layer below the text because I removed the dark drop shadow, but we'll add it by hand. So I'm gonna use a brush tool, black, and just paint under it, something like that, and we can change this to a soft light. That way it's going to be darker over here. We could also just decrease the opacity, like so, and then we already have the text popping out a bit more. If we double click on this again, we can also add a stroke. So for example, something like this could work. So that's one style that you can do. Let's just delete it and type like day 5, put this on white, add a stroke, bam, scale up, put it into the corner, and then we kind of have a text like on this thumbnail over here. Now let's say you have a text that doesn't fit on the screen. Instead of scaling it down, you can actually try to press Shift and just drag this together. In this case, it looks really goofy, but it is an option. Another thing you can do is select the text and turn down the space between the letters. That way they're also going to be like more together. Or you can just change it to a different font. That also works. So now here's my thumbnail workflow. Step 1 is to get a lot of inspiration. Go on YouTube and just screenshot good thumbnails. I would recommend you to get the 1 of 10 extension because this will add a small indicator over here, this 18 times thing that shows you how many times more views a video got compared to the channel average. So this one, for example, is a so-called outlier. And now you just want to screenshot good thumbnails that you find. And titles, of course. I'm actually going to scroll a bit till I find something really good. This one is really good, but I have no idea how I would ever apply that to my own channel, so I'm not going to screenshot that. This one is interesting. Are you just going to take that and then yes in the title? This is kind of the unexpected thing we talked about earlier. And then you just add it to a Miro board or anything you want to. Now I have a lot of these things, so I have many videos that I can do. I can literally just zoom into anything, but let's do this one. The title is How to Unfuck Your Life, and I'm gonna make a thumbnail for how to unfuck your thumbnails. So we have a before and an after, 2 sides, 2 texts. These 2 characters are cut out, and this is the title. Let's just try to do that with our Sonic theme here. Search up Sonic Sad, go to Images, copy one over into Photoshop. I chose this one. Sonic Happy PNG. This one, for example, is transparent, so I could copy over this one. But I already chose tooth, so this is what we're gonna work with. First of all, remove the background. I'm gonna use the magic wand tool for this one and just select the color. Over here it didn't work. I'm gonna have to reduce the tolerance and continue like so. Then you just press on this clipping mask and you're gonna have a nicely cut out Sonic. Now over here I'm gonna select the clipping mask and actually draw in with white this part because that one didn't get selected properly. That's how you can fix things. Let me choose the pencil tool and also draw in this outline part. Next we press U and just draw a rectangle up here. Something like that. Just put this one white. Was it also white over here? No, there was no rectangle. I'm gonna use a rectangle. And then T to get some text in. I already made this. I don't know if you saw it already, but before and after is really just scaled down and put into the places. So now we need to think about how we're gonna make this look very interesting. The title is gonna be how to unfuck your thumbnails, so we kind of need to portray that in the thumbnail. One very popular option is adding graphs. First of all though, let's make a nice background. We can just use any like dark image, or we can use a gradient. Let's use a gradient. And then choose like a gray tone over here and 2 blacks on the sides. Click on OK. And then we can just draw that one in. It's probably not what I'm gonna go with like in the end, but we can use it for now. By the way, I put up this guide by dragging on the ruler on the side and then just dragging it into the middle. And using this, we can make another rectangle, press U, something like that, and have like a middle part. I'm not quite happy with the background, so we're gonna use this one that I used on another thumbnail. Let me remove those two. So this is how I downloaded it from Google. And then we're gonna add exposure, bind that to the layer, decrease the exposure so that Sonic in the foreground, which is the main focus, and the before and after is more in focus. And then also put on the hue and saturation. And we're gonna drag down the saturation a bit and drag down the lightness even further. Now let's add another layer on top. And here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna choose a red brush, or rather a red pen, and just draw in a graph like so. And just fill in the back. Then we're gonna select this part and just duplicate it. On the lower layer, we're gonna fill this in. We're now gonna switch to a brighter color and fill it in again. That way we have this effect so far. If we now decrease the opacity, it's gonna get more and more realistic, or not realistic, but rather look like a good graph. Then let's add some blending options. Add a drop shadow. No, not a white one, a dark one. Or we can try a red one. Yep, decrease the size, and then we have it nice and glowy. I'm also gonna adjust this to a darker red, so the background now also looks a bit better. Let's just put this into a group, call this red graph, and do the same thing, but with green on the other side. Okay, I don't like this over here, so we're gonna fix that by moving over the green graph so they kind of match up. Oh no. So here's where issues arise because I didn't use a smart object. Because this glow part is from the Gaussian blur, so we'll need to delete this one, fix this other layer first, and then duplicate it again. This time I'm gonna make it a smart object though, before I add the Gaussian blur. So we can always change it later on. Anyway, we got these two groups, red graph and green graph. And on top of this one, we're gonna use a layer mask, which I never did before, but it's gonna work. We're gonna use the marquee tool or something like that, and then press Alt Delete to cut that off. We can copy that over and invert the layer mask to get this effect. Control I for inverting. Okay, we're getting somewhere. This sad Sonic is not standing out enough. So what we're gonna do is add camera raw. Let's see, it's a bit too dark, so we're gonna add exposure. We don't need contrast on this one actually. Highlights down because I don't want this, okay, I can't show it. I don't want this upper part to get too bright, so we'll remove the highlights. Up the shadows, up the whites a bit, up the blacks a bit, add some more vibrance, some more saturation, because it's not a human, so it works. Texture, yes sir. Clarity, no. Dehaze, yep. We can also do this, boom, boom, to also make it look a bit nicer. Whew. That's a pretty good change, you have to admit. Now we can just test if copying this over works on the haptics. No, it doesn't. Okay, we have to do it again for the other Sonic. Alright, and then of course, when I make thumbnails, it can't be any different. I have to add some drop shadows. And we will copy this one over to that one as well. Now what I don't like is that the drop shadow is drop shadowing up here. So we're just gonna move that above the Sonic. But I still want the right Sonic to be above the rectangle for this to happen. This is good. Let's go to the background, make this a smart object and add, and we're gonna choose motion blur to the side. Actually, it doesn't really matter. For this one, I thought because it's Sonic, you should do motion blur, but it's a background, so let's just use Gaussian. Doesn't really matter in this case. I'm not too happy with the brightness of this all. It might be because of the background. If I remove this, I don't know if this is better, to be honest. We can start using some particles. Let's actually add a new layer below the sad Sonic and get a dark blue brush, something like that, and add this to linear dodge add. Oh, this is tough because of the red graph. I wanted to make it blue because Sonic is blue, but we'll actually make it red because of the graph. Something like that should help. So if we only look at this layer, this is literally just what I drew. Let's copy this over and do the same thing for the happy Sonic. And also invert the width so that we have the cutoff side at the right side. Drag that over there. Add hue and saturation. Bam. Drag it until it's green. Bam. And that's that. I still don't like the middle part. So what we can try is go to my analytics and get one of these thingies. Except for we're gonna change the text with the inspect tool. By the way, yes, I am exposing myself. CTR. We're clickbaiting on this channel. Oh no. And this is gonna be changed to 18%. We'll remove that text. There we go, just screenshot that and put it into Photoshop. How do we make this work? Let's see if removing this middle rectangle helps. Let's make a rectangle thing with rounded corners and bind this layer to the bottom one, making it fit into the corners. That way we can customize it a bit easier, like so. Drop shadow on it, of course. Okay, I have an idea that might actually work. So I put the graphs into a group and then added a gradient fill. And with this gradient fill, if we bind it to the graphs, we can get something like this. So let's edit the gradient, a dark red, have this, a dark green, add a bright red over here, add a bright green right over here. What if we put both on 50? I feel like we can get away with that. So there we go, we made a halfway decent thumbnail. Usually I would spend a lot more time on this, but I really had to restrict it for this tutorial. So I really hope that this helped. And don't forget to click the link in the description to get many free assets. This video's thumbnail is perfect. No, seriously. In it we can find every single important aspect of thumbnail creation for optimized performance. By the end of this video you will know why I say that, and you will have the knowledge required to create a masterpiece like this yourself. First up, A/B tests. Maybe you have heard of this technique before, where YouTubers change their thumbnail and or title to see if there's an increase in views. The video we're gonna take a look at today underwent 7 title and thumbnail changes to go from 9,000 views to over 570,000 views. So the video is called You Only Need One Song to Understand Kanye. You can see the arrow, it only had 9,000 views. Now why is that? This thumbnail right here isn't a bad thumbnail. It has contrast, but the title has too many capitalized words. The "this explains everything" text is way too small for a mobile or even PC viewer to see right away. And the title is not very clear. It could also mean Kanye is easy to understand, which isn't the point of the video. The first changes were made and it went up to around 30k views, and this one is a bit better. It was changed to I analyzed every runaway performance to understand Kanye, with this thumbnail right here of 3 Kanye performances and the text in the middle. I really like the text in the middle because it just really stands out. Runaway explains everything, that's basically what the video is about, and it also complements the title. We'll go into more detail about that later on. One critique that I have here is that it's a bit too many elements and there's nothing really special about this video or its packaging. So in the split second that the viewer sees this thumbnail and title, they're not going to be scrolling their stop because it's just another video, you know? But then the final changes. This was huge success. It gathered more than 500,000 views with the title How Runaway Explains Kanye and the thumbnail with the text Even the Anti-Semitism. So what I noticed first here is that we only have 2 elements. We have Kanye and we have the text right here, with the text fitting perfectly to the title. Even the Anti-Semitism referring to some racist remarks that Kanye did. This begs the question in the viewer, how can the song Runaway explain Kanye's racist remarks? Viewers want to find out and click on the video because of it. This is curiosity, the emotion that gets you the click. We're going to talk about 2 other emotions that you need to embody in your title and thumbnail. We're just getting started with the analysis. Next up, we have contrast or color. In this case, more contrast. We got the black text, the black hoodie, and the white background. In Mr. Beast thumbnails, you often see red and blue as contrasting colors, and in Mark Rober's thumbnails, they're sometimes like rainbow colors even. What does contrast and color do? It gets the attention of the viewer. Attention is what you need to stop the scroll. If something is different, or, well, many other things that we're going to discuss later on, you can get the viewer to stop scrolling and look at your thumbnail even. Then in this thumbnail, obviously, there's a celebrity. Kanye. And Kanye is also a person. What does these 2 things have in common? They establish trust in the viewers. When your viewer trusts you, they stick around for longer, which increases audience retention, and that's why I said it makes the viewer more patient, and it also obviously helps get the click, because they're like, oh, I love Kanye, Kanye's in this video, so this video is gonna be good, just as Kanye. Something like that. I hope you get what I mean. Next up, having text also helps stop the scroll, but in this one, it's out of the ordinary, because no one expects a song to explain why the person is racist or anything like that, and you've never heard of anything like this before. Additionally, the thumbnail is so simple that among the other over-edited thumbnails, it just stands out. So what have we learned from this? I'll try to put it on one slide so you can screenshot the summary, and at the end of the video I also have a free gift for you that'll probably be a huge help with your thumbnail creation process. So, we have learned, don't capitalize too many letters or words because it's distracting for the viewer. The title must be easily understandable, even for like a 5th grader or something like that. Small elements might not be visible to mobile and even some PC viewers, so have your main elements the biggest. I think that makes sense. The packaging must fit the content to improve retention. Some clickbaiting is good, but we don't want to clickbait too much. If the title and the thumbnail is I beat the Ender Dragon in Minecraft, and then the video is just you mining some trees or something like that, I hope everyone here knows Minecraft, then the viewer's expectations are crushed and they'll click off instantly. Next, only use 3 main elements maximum. After this video, please go into your home screen and try to count elements. You'll find that most thumbnails have less than 5 and usually 3 main elements. If you look at Mr. Beast's thumbnails, it's always his face and then some crazy action, which is mostly 2 and maybe some text, 3 elements. Use color and contrast to get attention. Use celebrity, creator or fame jacking to establish trust and some more curiosity. And remember, humans like seeing faces. Text can help, but it has to complement the title. If your title is How to Grow on YouTube, in the thumbnail you're not gonna write How to Grow on YouTube, but instead you're gonna write In 5 Easy Steps or something like that. The idea of the video is much more important than the thumbnail and title. Sure, the thumbnail and title need to get the idea across, but you can have a perfect thumbnail and title for a bad idea and it's not gonna work as well. Be different. The thumbnail was different than all of the other thumbnails you can see on your home screen. It was very different. If with any of these points you're thinking, wait, did we really discuss that? Yes, we did. I can only recommend rewatching the video if you don't remember some things, but as I said, there's a small gift. In my Discord server, the link's in the description. I'll blur it out a bit, this is what you'll get. It's the third wheel for your YouTube car. Script writing. The first thing that your script needs is a hook, which can be, for example, a bold statement. Bad scripts won't just kill your video, they'll destroy your whole YouTube channel. This is a drastic thing to say and gets the viewer curious. Another thing you could do is ask a question. What is the actual reason behind YouTubers blowing up with one video? This implies that the reason that you might think it is actually not the right reason, so you're gonna be curious about what the actual reason is. The third thing you can do is just starting with a story. I just got 4 million views on my video and it ruined my channel. This actually happened to me, surprise surprise, it was a short. But starting with a hook like this will also get your viewers' attention, I love GIFs, and give them a reason to stay. But you need to confirm this reason to stay with your main body, which we'll get into now. First of all, you need to know your style, which means knowing your personality and your scripting style. So for personality, for example, if you're a really shy guy, then you shouldn't try to be extremely extroverted in your videos. Like, you should kind of come out of your shell, but you don't need to force yourself a new identity, basically. You don't need to be screaming like Mr. Beast in every video, you know, that just doesn't work. And this also needs to be reflected in your scripting style. Just write how you would usually talk in real life, that's basically it. And then, to keep your viewers watching, tell stories. Humans have always connected over stories, like even if you think about what people did back in the caves when they didn't have anything. They told each other stories, they thought of things. I mean, why do you think that when you were a child you loved to like hear about stories, and why do you think you still probably love movies or anything like that? Humans love stories, so tell stories in your videos and they will watch for longer. And in your script, you should also plan out the visuals that you're going to use. If you don't have a plan for your visuals ahead of time, then it can be really hard to, well, figure them out later. This is basically a similar concept to why I always make titles and thumbnails before the video, because you can honestly get in a lot of trouble if you don't do it. Then look at your retention graphs. Your analytics can tell you a lot of things. For example, this video is like the worst retention graph I've ever had, and that really just tells me that the intro is really bad. Like here it goes up again because of this chapter, and then it drops down again. If there was like a really insane spike, for example, if it looked like this, then I can tell that, okay, this part is kind of good, and this part was really boring, so a lot of people clicked off. Again, same thing as with the intros, you just need to be improving every single time, and we'll get to how you can do that in the next one. So outro and improving. Don't use something like this. This is honestly just useless. And it also gets your average view percentage down because, well, people are gonna click off when they see that thing. They might click on one of the videos, and end screens are important, which is a call to action. You need to get your viewers to take an action, which is watching the next video or joining your Discord server. If you taught them something, then you can also use your outro to tell them to, write something down now or do some kind of task. And that's really what the outro is for. This stuff is just useless. Same with this animated intro stuff. I don't think I need to be mentioning that, but I am anyway. But how do you actually improve your scripting and your outro? First of all, read books. Books can help you so much. This entire community, for example, is based off of the book The Millionaire Fastlane, because reading that gave me so many new ways to talk about stuff, and the car analogies and the road analogies, they all work so well for YouTube as well. So reading this book helped me a lot with my own storytelling. Then the second thing is analyzing other video structures. For example, if you watch Hamza, you can tell that he's usually starting out with like a bold statement, then he tells a story, then he rants out about something, and then he gives actionable advice. And this formula can work quite well for your channel too, so you could, analyze it and then copy it for your own channel. And then write down good hooks. If a video has a really good hook, just write it down and use a similar one for your channel. For example, these ones that I gave you earlier, these hooks, like a bold statement, question, and story, you can literally just change these however you want. Like bad scripts, you can replace that with cats, and then your whole channel house. Cats won't just kill you, they'll also burn down your house. Like, that's a pretty good hook. You kind of have to deliver on that then, but you can just replace stuff in hooks and it's gonna work out fine. And once again, posting in the community can help you improve a lot. The fourth wheel, editing. Yeah, just watch this editing course, honestly. This is gonna be the only editing guide you'll need to watch to get to 1K subscribers and monetize your channel. I'm saying that this is the only course that you'll need to get to 1K because, well, that's what I did on this channel that you're watching on right now. I got to 1K subscribers within just 3 months. This guide was made in Premiere Pro, but it applies to basically any editing software that isn't hugely outdated. So Windows Movie Maker 2011 might not work. I actually used to edit on that in the past, but I wouldn't recommend it nowadays. Let's not waste any time, this is our agenda today. 1. The best software you can use, both free and paid. 2. The editing objectives that you should always keep in mind when doing anything. 3. The simple workflow that I use that you can copy if you want. The third section is basically the entire course, but the second one is actually needed so we can understand why we do which cuts and how they can help us get more views and better our retention rates. I'm hyped for this. If you are, let's get into this right now. Editing software. S tier, Premiere Pro. No doubt about it, there is no editing software that is more commonly used by semi and professional YouTubers than Premiere Pro, meaning 90% of presets and tutorials are made for it. And if you know how to edit in Premiere Pro, you can also make some good money on the side by editing videos for other YouTubers, who most likely will require you to work with Premiere. Now, Premiere Pro is paid, but I've heard that there are ways to get it for free. But that's all I can say about that. A tier, DaVinci Resolve and CapCut. Both of these ones have a free version. If your PC or laptop isn't a complete potato, then get DaVinci Resolve and not CapCut. B tier, both of these probably belong in A tier too, but this ranking is biased. Final Cut Pro is Mac only, so I never used it. It is also paid and costs $300. Vegas Pro looks confusing as hell to me, so I've never used it either. This one costs between $150 and $300 depending on which version you buy. That's it, there are no other tiers because all other editing software is irrelevant. No, I'm kidding, there's probably other software that's pretty good, but just use Premiere, DaVinci or CapCut and you'll be fine. So now that we have our software, we should understand the basics of how to edit and why we edit and how we can actually get more views with editing. Objective. The goal when making any YouTube video professionally is to give the viewer the best watching experience possible. This means that if you're making an educational video like I'm doing right now, it probably means to not do too many edits and too many cuts, because if I spoke like Mr. Beast here and used loads of sound effects, then that would be confusing as hell and you wouldn't know what's going on. However, using these sound effects just a few seconds ago illustrated the point that I was trying to make. So really that's the thing you need to figure out while editing. Does this edit make sense or is it just useless? If it's useless, don't do it. Basically, all you need to think about is this going to be good for the viewer? If you're making educational videos, you're going to think about, does this help the viewer understand the topic better? If you're making entertainment video, it's gonna be, does this entertain the viewer? For educational content, a common mistake would be to think, oh, my viewers would learn more if they watched the unedited video. Which might be true for one specific person, but for the majority of people it would mean they wouldn't watch the video, which leads to the algorithm showing it to less people and therefore less people learning what you have to teach. So editing sometimes can be like a necessary evil in a way. Editing workflow. Let's get into the actual editing guide now. In this section I'll show you exactly how I do my cuts, sound effects, music choice, transitions, subtitles, overlays, GIFs, just to name a few. We'll go over everything and I'll show you exactly how to do it. Alright, so let's get started. I just made a new project and now we're gonna import some of the media. There are multiple ways of importing stuff. If you want to be a weirdo, you can go to the import tab and then select your footage from there. Or you can double click on the project and then select the files. Or what I usually just do is I press Windows and E to open up the Windows Explorer. Then I go to my videos folder, recording, and then I just drag and drop this stuff in there. And then I'll also usually go to my editing utensils folder and then drag in my music. Another way to do this is going to Window and then Media Browser. And in this media browser, you can also go to your, for example, editing utensils, and here in my music folder. And then I could just drag and drop from the media browser without having to import everything. But personally, this is just like personal preference. I like to have everything in the project folder itself. Then I can really recommend you to rename all of your files. So just double click on this one. For example, this is main recording. And then if you have some B-roll, you can make a bin called B-roll. And B-roll is basically anything that you layer on top of your existing footage. So if we just make a new sequence real quick, which I'll also show you the best settings. So for you, you'll probably be like over here, then you go to settings, put this on custom, time base 60. The 1920 by 1080 is perfect. All of these settings should be good. Then audio 48,000 Hertz, video preview, same thing. And then these are good settings for a sequence. So if you drag and drop your footage into there, and this is where you're talking, then this is going to be your A-roll. And anything you put on top is B-roll, so you need to import that. For me, it's quite a few screenshots of what people said about the thing that I'm going to talk about in the video. So I'm just going to import that here. And yeah, sorting these folders doesn't seem important, but it will be in the long run, honestly. Now, if you play back your video and this is laggy for some reason, then make sure to put this on 1/4 or the lowest that is possible. And you can also right click on your main recording file, go to proxy, create proxies, and then click on OK with these settings. That way you're going to have a lower quality file for the preview, but when you render the video in the end, it's going to have the original quality. So let's go over some of the tools, which are going to be here on the left. And then there are some over here as well. And by the way, if you don't see any of these windows, well, you're not going to see these two, that's normal. We'll get to those later. But if you don't see, for example, effects and stuff like that, you can go to Window and then search for the window. These are the ones that I currently have enabled. So the first tool is the selection tool, which you get by pressing V. With this, you can just click on footage. It's going to be the main thing that you're going to be using. You can drag things up and down to the side, stuff like that. The next one is track select forward. So if you have multiple cuts over here and you don't want to just move this part, but you want to move it the entire video, you press A and use this track select forward tool. There's also backwards, which is Shift A. You can get to these tools by just holding long on this one and then you can select the other one, for example. Or you just hit the hotkey, which I can really recommend. Then there's Control Z, Control Shift Z to redo things. You probably know these things already. There's ripple edit tools, all kinds of tools. I don't really use those, but the remix tool is really cool. So if you import a song, but you only want it to be, let's say, this short, then you just do that with the remix tool. It's going to analyze the clip and it's going to remix the song, which is honestly just insane. I know I didn't show you the original, but with these thingies, like when it shows this, then that means that it made a transitions here. So let's see if we can hear the song transition. And no, I couldn't. I can't show you the rest of this because that one is actually copyrighted. It's the song of the sad samurai dog meme. Then these three I don't really use. Then there's the type tool, which if you select it or you press T, you can then drag like a square here. And what is that frame? And in this square, you can now type your text. We'll go more in depth over text later. Then on the playback window itself, you have toggle effects. So for example, if we put on a circle crop on here, and if we toggle this off, then it's gonna toggle off the effects, which is sometimes good for playback if it's laggy. Then if you want to export this frame, you can click on this camera thing. For example, that can be like helpful if you want to pause the video right here and then extend this frame. You then export it and import it again. If you click on this plus thing, you can also drag other buttons into your menu here. The ones that I can really recommend you do is add show guides, which is this. And for that, you also add show rulers. So if you drag down from the ruler, you can add a guide. And I really recommend you to set guides in the middle of the image. So this is 1920 by 1080. 1920 divided by 2 is 960. So if we go to 900, what? Yeah, 960. So this guide in the middle is in the middle. Same thing for 1080. And then if you scale up your footage a bit, you can then center yourself, which you should usually do. Of course, you don't need this for gaming content, for example, but if you want to just make sure that something is even, for example, then you can use these guides, and I'm gonna toggle those off again. If you created a proxy over here with create proxy, you can then also toggle these on and off with this button. And that's pretty much it for the basic tools. So let's just get started with some editing, and I'll explain the rest along the way. Alright, before we do that, let's go over playback real quick. So if you press space, the video is gonna play. If you press J, it's gonna move backwards. K is pause. L is move forward. And if you press L again, for example, you can speed it up by a lot. And if you play back and then when you pause, it selects the clip and you don't want that, you go to sequence and turn off selection follows playhead. Just so you've heard it, you probably don't know why that would be important, but there are sometimes moments where it's really annoying. So let's first do the raw cut of this video, meaning we cut out the silences. And for this, I really just look at the audio. The video doesn't matter at all for this. Well, sometimes it does if you like show something without talking. But in this case, I know that I only talked and there was nothing like showing going on in the video. And the hotkeys that I'm using for these is, so I go to the end of the clip, then I press Control and K, which I think is a custom hotkey, but I have K here on my mouse. So that's really useful. Other than that, you can pretty much set hotkeys to whatever you want, but let me show you which one it is. So Control and then K, add edit. You need to set yourself a hotkey for add edit, which basically cuts the footage wherever your marker is. And then if I go here and then press Q, then it cuts to the last cut. Like it ripple deletes till the last cut. Ripple trim previous to playhead. And I think this is default. And then if there was a cut here and we want to trim till here, this part, then I press W over here. These hotkeys are really important. Then I also have D to select this, and then Control space to delete the cut that is selected. And the hotkeys for those are D select clip at playhead and Control space ripple delete. It doesn't matter which hotkeys you use, but you need to use hotkeys. They're gonna save you so much time. Now I tried making one cut as bad as possible, so this is how it sounds like. And you kind of can hear somewhat of an audio pop. If you ever have this, you select both clips, press Ctrl D, or you go to effects and search up constant power and drag and drop this effect onto here. Make it a bit smaller, and then it's not going to be as noticeable. Now if your audio quality is really bad, you can actually Ctrl M to export, or you go over to the export tab, and then export the whole thing in MP3. Let me actually do that real quick. Open up Adobe Podcast Enhance, which is a free like enhanced thing. Get your audio, drag it in there, and then it's going to enhance your audio, getting rid of background noises and leveling out the audio. Now if you have an accent like mine, then sometimes it might not work, so I'm going to play this back in a second, but usually it does help. And by the way, this is also free for CapCut users or anything like that. You don't need an Adobe license, so let's play it back.
This video has been sponsored by absolutely no one except myself, but this will interest you, so listen up. Today I'm releasing a private YouTuber community with different kinds of courses.
So I'm not sure if this is better, to be honest. Like the background noise is removed, but...
and so much more. If you join, you'll be making good money with your YouTube channel.
It's kind of like AI-y. Yeah, I'm not gonna use it. What I forgot to mention as well during the rough cut, if it's a longer video, you should also every once in a while press M to set markers, and then for example write like excited or something. And these markers can help you with the music choice later on. Because after the rough cut is done, I usually go over to adding the music. So I'm going to start it with the Spear of Justice, which is a really good intro song usually. Now for this song in particular, it starts exactly at the beginning, so I don't need to do anything. But if you wanted to have this section, for example, this one, you can press I here, or click on this thingy, then go to where you want the clip to end, press O, or click on that thingy. And if you now drag and drop the song, then it's going to be only this section, and it's called setting in and out points. But for me, I wanted to start at the very beginning, but I don't want it to be too long. So I'm going to import this part. Now if we play this back, you can hear that you can't hear anything because the music is too loud. So select it, press G, or go to right-click audio gain, and then, for example, minus 20 decibels maybe.
This video has been sponsored by absolutely no one.
And then we're gonna select the upper part and increase it by 4 decibels.
Except myself, but this will interest you.
And just make sure that these thingies on the right don't go into the red part. So this should be okay. So I want this song to only go for 5 seconds in the beginning. Then we're gonna switch over to maybe one of my Dragoon downloaded songs. This might be a good chance to go over where to find music. So first of all, you can just search up free music download and then no copyright. But in this case, it already did that. So freemusicarchive.com and Pixabay are good sources. And here you can literally just download these songs. On Pixabay, if you download something, this one for example, you would now have to add this section into your description, but I mean, that's fine. And then you can also go to Dragoon, who's a YouTuber who always puts his music into the description. I love it so much that he does that. So the Minecraft cookie clicker experience, for example, if we mute this down here, it's gonna say all of the songs that he used. And that's why one of my music folders is called Dragoon. Yeah, I actually realized that this song fits a lot better than the first one, and we're just gonna use it all the way. And then at the end, I usually like to add, no, not a constant power, but an exponential fade. Then we'll have it just be a few seconds like so.
So I promise it will help you.
There we go. Because if you cut out music right away, then people are going to notice and it's going to be annoying. And also if this video continued over here, we would now add another song like right over here, so that this song starts while this other one is ending. And then we can also add a constant gain, or Control D, and have this one fade in while the other one is fading out. So once you have your music added, I would usually recommend you to just start on the intro, which for this sample is literally just 5 seconds the intro. And if you know where your B-roll footage is gonna go, you can already add that right now, but you don't need to add like transitions or any effects yet. So let me actually play the video that we have so far with this rough cut and this music, and then after that we're gonna add some stuff together.
This video has been sponsored by absolutely no one except myself, but this will interest you, so listen up. Today I'm releasing a private YouTuber community with different kinds of courses, personalized help, group coaching calls, access to bigger YouTubers that you can literally just DM and ask for feedback, and so much more. If you join, you'll be making good money with your YouTube channel in no time. And John, for example, said that his views actually doubled after you watched one of the courses, so check out the link in the description below. I promise it will help you.
So yeah, there's a lot of B-roll that we can add, but let's start with the intro. So the first step that I literally always do is just add some text. So we're just gonna type anything right there, select it all with Control A, go over to the effect controls, open this up, and then get a good font, which my font is usually Erasbold ITC or Gotham. So we'll use Erasbold ITC. Then center it in the middle, center it in the height, scale it up to like, I don't know, 180 something. Yeah, 160 should be fine. Then we'll add a stroke, a black one, with a width of, I don't know, 7. Yeah, that should be good. Then we'll also add a shadow with more opacity, also in black. And that looks pretty good for text. So when moving it around and you press Control, you can then center it much more easily. And I want to have it down there. And the first 5 seconds, I'm just going to subtitle completely. So I just extended this text layer. And then I'm going to do cuts for all the different words. This video has been sponsored. And then I just go over it again and add the text. Once that's done, I'll select all of them and add a text pop in LT. I'm using Finza's presets, but I'm not allowed to share those online, so in the description you'll find my own presets, which I haven't made yet, but I'll make those. And it's gonna look just as good as Finza's. So I'm just gonna use the nice pop in one, and then when we play this back,
this video has been sponsored by
it looks like that. And then I want like these anime lines that go in from the outside to the middle. You'll see what I mean in a second. So we're just gonna search that up. Green screen, anime lines, effects, overlay. Just spam some keywords and you'll usually find what you're searching for. That's exactly what I'm searching for. Yep, and that's perfect. We're just gonna copy that, go to cobalt.tools, which is the best YouTube audio and video downloader because it doesn't have any ads or anything like that. And we can just drag that into, no, not the music folder. No, please no. We can drag that on here. And then double click on that. And then if we drag this thingy over here, then it only imports the video and not the audio, which this video like doesn't really have any audio, but we don't want like an empty audio file, you know? So once we have that, we'll go to effects, search up Ultra Key, drag and drop that on there, effect controls, scroll down, select the color of the green, go to setting aggressive, and that's it. This video has been sponsored by, and then kind of have like a rage effect, absolutely no one. So we'll search up triggered sound effect. And this is literally like the entire editing process. Like you just search up the stuff that you want, and then you add it. And the rest of it probably just comes down to practice. Oh, that's loud, Jesus. Okay, but absolutely no one. Cut that out. Yeah, let's just take this section. Absolutely no one, cut out. And then we can do a fade out. This is also going to be in my preset pack. This is actually one that I made myself as well. So yeah, it's gonna like fade out. But once again, we also need to add an Ultra Key. There we go. And then probably minus 40 decibels.
I absolutely no.
Never mind, that was too much.
By absolutely no one.
How am I gonna transition this in? Let's do a swoosh from the bottom. So now we're gonna get to keyframes. So I'm gonna put keyframes on both position and scale. Actually, scale is useless, let's not do that. And then go a few frames in and select and set another one for position. And then this position one we're gonna drag down so that it starts from the bottom and just it moves into the frame like that. This is a bit too short, so we'll extend that. And then go to temporal interpolation and choose ease out. That just makes it look a bit smoother, but this should be fine. And then we can do a whoosh. So let me show you SoundQ. SoundQ, it's a software that you can download from the internet. It's free. And once you have it downloaded and opened up, and we go to the free sounds and search for whoosh, we'll find whoosh sound effects. That's not the whoosh I'm searching for. Yeah, one of those is good, so we'll select this one. And then go to this thing, and then we can drag it right into Premiere. And again, don't forget to always adjust the audio.
Absolutely no one.
And we also want to fade in the audio, so Control D. And I'm just gonna make this shorter. And then we might want to have the subtitles above. No, we don't. And then another thing that you should definitely install is Premiere Composer. Just search it up, you'll find it. And if you go to Window Extensions and open this up, then you'll find this. And in transitions, you can, for example, find the zoom in transition. And if you want to have a transition between these two clips, you just drag and drop it onto there. Wait for a bit. Please don't crash, please don't crash, please don't crash, please. Thank you. Then you, again, adjust the audio. And then you have this transition. But the reason I do this is because I want this later part of this effect, but not the first part. So I'm literally just gonna cut it in half and add that to the beginning so that when the video starts, we have this zoom in effect. And then to speed up the pacing a bit more, I usually like to also add some just random GIFs. So if I say this will interest you, we'll cut this part out. Or well, we're gonna like put the subtitles up there, and then we can add a color matte. If you right click, new color matte, okay. Then you select your color, which yeah, I'm gonna use kind of like this one. Okay, put that on there, and then put on some GIFs. This will interest you, so we're gonna go to giffer.com/ actually let's make it English / listen. Yeah, these are bad. Interest. Yeah, that one's good. So just download that and put that in there. And that should be good. And in this case, it's full screen, so the color map was useless. But I'm gonna remove some of the beginning and then have the end line up with the listen up.
Except myself, but this will interest you, so listen up.
And then we're gonna do a zoom in transition over here. Don't forget to adjust the sound. And then if we zoomed in now, then we should probably zoom out the next one. And now I'm talking about the private YouTuber community that I'm releasing, so I actually need to get some of the B-roll footage for that real quick. So in this case, it was literally just me like hovering with a mouse over like the community that I'm creating. So we're just gonna set the in and out points, only drag in the video, and then yeah, just add it. So I got myself some screenshots, and I'm just gonna add them like for the time that they fit in, and then we'll add some more transitions. For this part, I zoomed in on the community thing, and here's, by the way, where I would, for example, add rulers and guides to just see if this is centered, which it now is. So if you add images and you don't want to add like animations to them, you can also just do a shutter sound, such as this one, and just add them to each of the images. So when this one goes in, when this one goes in, by the way, Alt, click, and then drag to duplicate, and then -4.
Courses?
Yeah, that's pretty good. And if you want to move all of these out, like to the bottom at the same time, you can select all of these, go to Nest, OK, and then basically do the same thing we did earlier, but instead of doing it on the images, we're just going to move the entire sequence out, which is basically grouping them together. And then in my preset pack, there's going to be an image middle thing. So if you want to put an image in the middle, like on the side, if you're talking, you can just drag and drop that on there.
Personalized help.
And then it has like a pop effect on it. But in this case, I'm also going to add a crop to it and actually cut off the sides first, because they had like a black bar to it. And if you add a pop in, then you should also do a pop sound effect, or plop, I guess, such as this one. And then when you had like a longer talking section and you had something like this, then it can be time again to, for example, add some GIFs or stock footage or other footage that you recorded. So that's what I'm going to do over here. And I'm also going to add text again, just to spice things up. And then I'll just search up the GIFs for it again. If you don't want to use GIFs, which is understandable, you can, for example, go to Pixabay, where you also can get sound effects, or you can go to Pexels, which is also an option. But you should make sure that the things that you're using are not too overused, because you want to still kind of be unique in a way. And if you want to add something that doesn't fit into the frame, hold on, let me just put the text above. For example, like this, you can duplicate it below. And then for the bottom one, you can do bottom layer, blur etc. And then you have this, and then for the top one, you can do a drop shadow, and all of these are in the preset pack, and you can make something like this, for example. And this one doesn't need to be that scaled up, you can kind of have it like this.
If you join, you'll be making...
If a clip isn't long enough, for example, like this one, is very short, you can press R. Oh yeah, I do use this tool, rate stretch tool. Press R, and you can extend the clip by a bit. So for example, like this. And then the bottom ones I'm going to extend like this. Yeah, actually, that should be fine. And then you have something like that, even though the effects were way too short before. And then let's add some other transitions, for example, a light leak one, and then fade to black. You can do all of these by hand, but I mean, if you have a plugin like this one, which is free, why not use it? So I just repeated the process, everything I did in this video, I showed you how to do. So here's the final result.
This video has been sponsored by absolutely no one except myself, but this will interest you, so listen up. Today I'm releasing a private YouTuber community with different kinds of courses, personalized help, group coaching calls, access to bigger YouTubers that you can literally just DM and ask for feedback, and so much more. If you join, you'll be making good money with your YouTube channel in no time. And John, for example, said that his views actually doubled after he watched one of the courses. So check out the link in the description below, I promise it will help you.
I hope this editing guide helped you. This is literally what got me to 5K and 23K on my Minecraft channels. So it will get you to 1K very fast as well. But if you want to have personalized help, you know, there's like one thing that can help you out a lot. Have a nice day, see ya.